You guys having a good time? What do you guys think? Is this an awesome thing or what? Yeah. Wow, a lot of energy for just after lunch. First of all, before I introduce our special guest here, everybody give it up for our MC, Mark Yagi. Is he doing a great? So, the first person we're going to give this award to, and it's called our Playful Out Award. And this is for somebody that has done an incredible job of exuding what we teach here at One Life Fully Lived. And it's kind of like more, instead of playful out, it's more like the t-shirt. Dream it, plan it, live it. And there's somebody who's had a dream, they made a plan, and this particular person I'm going to introduce right now literally wrote on the canvas last year, I will speak at the next One Life Fully Lived conference. Okay? Yeah. And it was a dream at the time. And they will be talking in just a minute. But I want to back up a year before that. It was our conference 2 years ago, and they contacted me, and I really didn't know them. And they said, I'm in a really messed up place. My life isn't where it needs to be. I'm coming to your conference, and you wait, I'm going to turn my life around. And how many of you can relate to that? That you'd really like to? Awesome. So this person, since that time, has done incredible things. They're going to tell you all about them. I'm not going to steal their limelight. They're from my hometown of Portola. She's gorgeous. She's full of life. She definitely exudes this. Deserves this award, and please let me welcome Miss Rhonda Smith.
Please forgive me if I get a little emotional.
We love you, Rhonda.
Oh, thank you. Kind of makes me hard to drop down into the deep, dark part of my story, but okay. So there I was. I flipped on the light switch in this dingy old hotel room I was staying in, and I caught a glimpse of my reflection in this mirror, and I didn't even recognize myself. There, I realized that I hadn't really looked at myself in the mirror in months, and I could not believe what I saw. My green eyes, that usually were vibrant and full of life, were now black like death, and my skin, which usually is full of color and light with big rosy cheeks, was gray and just completely covered in acne. My hair was so dry and brittle it was literally falling out in my hands. And I was 50 pounds heavier due to the copious amounts of cortisol that my body had been producing due to the stress and strife of my horrible, horrible life. And I looked up and I thought to myself, what have you done to your life? What have you done to yourself? Just a few short years ago, you were on top of the world. You were married to a wonderful man. You were successful. You were making six figures. You were healthy and fit and vibrant and so full of life. And now you're nothing but a drugged out junkie with no hope and no chance from ever recovering from this. I had so many questions and I had absolutely no answers, and I had no idea what to do to change my life. And I screamed into the mirror, help me, somebody, please help me. But I knew that nothing was going to change, and I just knew inside that there was going to be no one to help me. And I began to cry, and I laid down, and I cried myself to sleep like I had 1,000 other nights. The next day when I woke up, something was completely different. Something in me was completely different, and I didn't really know what it was. And as I looked around the room, I found myself feeling happy, and it was almost foreign. The feeling was so weird. And as the light was coming in through the blinds and I started to feel the joy and the warmth of it, and I really started to fill with hope that my life could be different. For the first time in 4.5 years, I actually felt hope that I could change my life. And what happened in that moment was that I had the consciousness that came that said that if it were meant to be, it's up to me. I know that sounds easy for most of you because you already think, okay, it's easy to change your life. But for me, I didn't really ever have that thought. So I'm feeling so good. I jump up out of bed and I run over to my bag and I grab out my notepad and a pencil and I sit down and I just start writing. And I don't know what I'm writing, but I write. And I wrote and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. And 4 hours later, I looked up and I looked at all this information around me that I had, these mindsets and tools and belief systems that I had never even thought of. I had no idea where they came from, and I had no idea what it all meant. And I'm sitting there in awe, and I'm looking around the room, and my eyes focus in on the nightstand next to the bed. And on this nightstand were all the things that represented my old drugged out junkie life. There were drugs, there was drug paraphernalia, just everything was bad, and I instantly felt sick. And I knew in this moment that I had to make my first choice. A really difficult choice, but my first choice. So I threw my hair back in a ponytail and I put clothes on and I grabbed all this stuff off the nightstand and I threw it in a garbage bag and I tied it in a knot. I'm very paranoid at this point, so I'm not really sure where to get rid of it. But my mind flashes to the gas station across the street. So I walk as fast as I can to the gas station, and as I'm approaching it, I can see it's dirty and dingy, and there's homeless people there, and the smell of fumes as I approach are burning my nose, and I can see a garbage can about 20 yards ahead, and I walk over to it as fast as I can. I'm looking around to make sure no one's really looking at me, and I wad up this ball that represents all the things that had been holding me back, all the things I had been allowing to hold me back, and I threw it in the garbage can, and I instantly felt this huge release of pressure in my body and this relief. And I felt that happy feeling again. And as I turned around to walk away, I saw that there was a woman who had been watching me. And as I approached her and walked past her, she looked at me and smiled with this big, beautiful smile, and she said, "Change makes sense." And this literally blew my mind. Did she know what was going on? Had she been watching me, the paranoia? And it was obviously apparent that change needed to happen in my life. So I walked away with this big feeling that was really beautiful. And when I got back to the hotel, I instantly became paralyzed again with fear because I realized I had no plan. I had no idea what to do. The thing that had been keeping me alive or helping me keep moving, I had just thrown away. And I had no idea what to do with my life. And I didn't know if I should go left, and I didn't know if I should go right. And I wanted this so badly, but I didn't want to mess it up. Have any of you ever felt that way, that you wanted something? Yeah. So it was very fearful. So in my mind, I thought, okay, I'm going to go back to my notes, right? So I went back to my notes, and I saw that there was a pattern, almost like steps that I needed to take. And a couple of the messages that came through were that I needed to do it one step at a time. Because in my life, I'd always jumped to step 3 and forgotten steps 1 and 2. So I look at my notes and I'm sitting there thinking, what do I need? What do I need? Well, I need to get out of this really terrible environment, and I need to work on my health. So I made the choice to go home to my family, to my wonderful family who had been waiting for me all this time. And I took massive action and became very accountable to myself to make change. So I removed chemicals from my food and toxins from my life and from the products I put on my body, and I removed sugar, and I quit eating meat, and I started exercising vigorously, and I lost 50 pounds. Thank you. And then again, I'm at this place where I was like, okay, I don't know what to do. I don't want to mess this up. Everything's moving very nicely, so I'm ready to start looking for a purpose. Which this is the first time in my whole life I'd ever even had the consciousness to think about what my purpose was here. So I pull up Facebook, as I always did. If you know me, you know I'm a Facebook junkie. And I saw a post for the One Life Fully Lived conference in Reno. And I was like, I was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to afford it. It's going to be like Tony Robbins prices or something. And I looked and it was $25. So I had to borrow the $25 to go. And I went to this conference and it changed my life. I met Tim Rode and he asked me what I wanted to do with my life. And, you know, I was like, oh, I've done all these things and I want to have purpose and I want to have all this stuff. And I came at him with all this information. And he's like, right, but what's your one thing? And I was like, one thing? I have 10 things. So Tim took me in under his wing and started coaching me and mentoring me, and he brought me on to work as the community director for One Life, and I got to start being visible and vulnerable in the community and helping others. And one day we were talking, and it all kind of came to me that I had to grow into the person I needed to be in each of these steps and phases in my life to move to the next phase, and I was ready to move to the next phase. And I knew in that moment that I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to do for other people what Tim had done for me. So the journey began again, and I got into a certification program, and I started doing the work, and I started creating a business, and I started changing people's lives. And I'm so proud of how far I've come, and I still have a big mountain ahead of me, just like we all do, but I get to do it one step at a time. And every day I get to make an impact in someone's life, and I get to help them just shift a little bit and understand that life is beautiful as it is, and that it's not all in our head as we think it is. So if I had known that it was going to be such a huge mountain in the beginning, I probably never would have started, right? But I just had to take one step at a time and be present, be in the moment, as I've heard many people talk about here, and surround yourself with people that are going where you want to be or they're already there. So if I have one message for all of you, is this. You can overcome anything in your life. If I've overcome what I have, you can overcome anything in your life, and you can have any life you want. You just have to do the work. You have to create a plan. First of all, you have to have a really big dream, and you have to be crystal clear in your dream, which that part took me almost a year. You have to create a plan, and if you don't know how to do that, you have to reach out to coaches, you have to get mentors, you have to use One Life, you have to use the tools that are here to figure it out. And then you have to take massive, massive action and do the work. And you have to believe in what you're doing to make sure that you can continue to do the work. Because I'm not going to lie, it's not going to always be easy, but it's going to be so rewarding. So today, I ask all of you to take a step closer to figuring out what it is you really, really, really want in your life. The thing that really lights you up. Because it is possible for all of you to have a life that you absolutely love. You just have to take the action step. And then you can all squeeze every juicy drop out of your own beautiful lives, just like I did. Thank you very much.
All right, so guys, was that incredible or what? One more time. That's why we're here, right here, is to everybody has a dream. Few have a plan for their dream, and precious few live their dream. And I would ask, who do you know in your life that could use this message? And please tell them to join our One Life community, become a part of us, and join us at a future conference so you can see, what great things come from this.